Hi, this is Zeedign Tutorials, and in this video we are going to learn how to use blend modes in Adobe Photoshop, and we will develop an understanding of how all the blend modes in Adobe Photoshop are different from each other and which blend mode should be used in what case or scenario. So I have got this document in Adobe Photoshop which has two layers. There is this night view layer or image, and there is another one with a girl using a laptop. Now in this video it will have some sort of three sections or three parts, and the first I will explain, or I will tell you about what are blend modes and what do we mean by blend mode and what do we achieve using that. So I will show you the target. In the second part, I will show you how to use blend modes, and these first two parts are going to be very quick and easy. And the third part is for those who want to develop a deeper understanding of all the blend modes, what's the concept behind each one of these, and I will show you how many of the blend modes are in Adobe Photoshop, and there are a lot. So the third part is going to be lengthy, but it is for those designers who are interested in learning something new and to develop some new concept and a better understanding as a designer. So let's get started. Like I said, I have these two layers, and I have displayed both of these one by one using this icon, and here I have the result, which may not be the one you prefer, but it is just an example. Okay, so I had these two layers. The first one is this night view, and the second one is a girl using a laptop, and using these two layers I got something like this. So here you will notice those two layers I showed you in this document are sort of blended or merged together into one, and now it has this effect on it. And this is not just one application. I could show you more in the internet. I'm sure you have seen images like these in some technology banners and stuff, and here all of these images are using the blend modes in Adobe Photoshop, where there is one image and there is another image, and then we use blend modes to get or achieve this sort of effect in our work. So anyway, that was just I was just explaining you what are the outcomes we are hoping to achieve with blend modes and why is it useful. So let's get to the second part of the video, where I will show you how to use blend mode. So I have got two layers here, and in order to achieve that blending effect we need two layers. The top one, which it will be called as blend layer because its colors will be treated as blend colors, and the one in the bottom will be called as base layer. So base layer and blend layer, this is just we call how these are referred to as, and I will refer to these terms in the third section of this video, so you better remember this. So this is the base one, which is in the bottom, and this is the blend one, which is on the top. Now here, I will zoom to this part. This section, if you in the layer panel, is where you can access the blend modes, and it's a long list of options here, and you will notice by default it is normal here, but if I click on something and let's go with multiply, which is most commonly used in Adobe Photoshop, you will notice how you can see some sort of preview of the layer in the bottom, and even though I have selected the top layer and it is not removed, still you could see the preview of the layer in the bottom. So in other simple words, both of these layers are appearing to be blended or merged together. So this is all about blend mode. blend modes. This is how you can access the blend modes, and you could go through all these options one by one, and whichever is more suitable to the effect you require, or whichever is more appealing to you or your choice, you could go with that. Just pick the one you like, and once you are happy, just select it, and that's it. You could save this document and use this image. So this is just the part where I showed you how to use blend mode in Photoshop, and like I said, you need to have one top layer which will get blended into the base one. Okay, here it will still have the normal blend mode. The top one is where we will make the changes, and it will get implemented on the bottom one. So we will see the bottom one through the top layer. Okay, so this is how we use it. Nothing technical, it's all very basic. Now let's get into some more basic details, basic information, and then we step by step we will get into more technical stuff. So let's begin by understanding what the categories of the blend modes here. The first two are normal blend modes, and then there are 5 more blend modes, and you could see these separations between all these. This is what making these into different groups. So the first 2 are in the normal blend modes. The next 5 are darken blend modes, and then the next 5 are lighten blend modes. And actually I have prepared a document as well for you, so that you could, in case you are into more technical definitions and stuff, you could read that stuff from here. So here I have listed down all the set blend modes which are available in Adobe Photoshop, and we are going to go through each one of these, and we will learn how to execute, or how to understand, or in simple words, how each one of these look when we use it, and what's the idea behind the usage of these. So it's a long list, and we have contrast blending modes, and then we have another group for inversion blending modes, and then we have component blending modes. Okay, so like I was showing you here, the first ones are normal, then darken, then lighten, then contrast. Contrast has the most number of blend modes, and then there are other 2, inversion, and I don't remember the name of the last one. It was, I think, component blending modes. Okay, so let's begin with the first one, the default one. Now what's the point of having a default one when it do nothing, right? When I keep it normal, nothing happens. I cannot see the one in the bottom. But why we use it is that we could use the opacity setting with it. I will keep it normal, and I will reduce the opacity, and by reducing the opacity it will show me the one in the bottom. So it's just like playing with the transparency of the top layer in order to get it merged with the bottom one. Okay, and it's my choice how much I want the top layer to be visible to me. Okay, so if I want to keep it like dark, I can go with this. If I will reduce it, now just little bit shadows of the top layer are visible to me, and now the bottom one is more prominent. So anyway, this is why even the normal blend mode can be useful in many cases where we just want the effect, and the effect we want can be achieved by just playing or making some change in the opacity. Okay, so that was the normal blend mode, and let me take you to the definition. So normal is the default blending mode for Photoshop layers. Opaque pixel will cover the pixel directly below them without applying any math or algorithm applied to them. Okay, and like I showed you, you can of course reduce the opacity of the layer to reveal the pixels below, and no need to focus too much on this definition. This is just for those individuals who are too much into technical stuff, so I am displaying these in case they are interested in words, the technical terms. Alright, so the next one is dissolve. Let's learn dissolve. If I pick dissolve, you will notice nothing has happened, just like in the case of normal. But how is it different from normal then? Well, in case of dissolve, if I reduce the opacity, you will see this is quite different from the normal one. When I picked the normal, you saw even if I reduce the opacity, my opacity is 74% at the moment. It is behaving like some transparent screen, okay? But when I pick dissolve, it is noisy, okay? It has like scattered pixels all over. So yeah, it's looking ugly, but maybe in some case it might be the one you need. Maybe you need some sort of sand effect or grainy effect. So in those cases you could use the dissolve blend mode. Okay, so we have covered the first category of the blend modes, the normal category, and it has just two options, and I have explained you the difference between the two, the normal one and the dissolve one. So this is how it works. Moving on to the next category, which is lighten. And let me take you back to the definition. Here we have dissolve. The dissolve blending mode does not blend pixels. Dissolve only reveals the pixels below when the opacity of the layer is reduced, pretty much like normal one. But here this is the keyword, the noise. Okay, so I'm skipping this part. If you are into definitions, you could read it by pausing the video, and that's how you could read it. Okay, moving on. So the next part is darken blending modes. It has 5 categories, 5 blend modes I think in this category. So starting with the first one, the darken is the darken blending mode looks at the luminance values in each of the RGB channels and selects either the base color or blend color depending on which is darker. So this is too technical for you, so let me make it simple. What do we mean by darken and luminance value and RGB channels? That yeah, there are too many technical terms, so I'm not going to get too much into detail. For those who want details, that's why I put up that definition for them in the document. But anyway, to keep it simple, when we say darken, it means that it is going to compare the pixels of both of these layers, and it is going to show us the one which are darker. Okay, so for example, what do we mean by the luminance value and RGB? So those are the color modes, okay, not blend modes. I'm talking about color modes. And you could for example, if I go to the image on the top, and here is mode, and here you will see by default is RGB. So if you go to lab color, then here you will find the value of L, and let me show you. Okay, so if I pick some color, let's say from here, you will notice these values, okay, CMYK values, RGB, HSB, and here you will see LAB. So when I change some color, you will notice these values get changed as well. Okay, so what do we when we say that the darken blend mode will compare the values, the luminance of both layers, it means that these values, it will compare the values, okay, of the luminance and RGB channels, and it will display the pixel which has darker value. Okay, so let's keep it to that. So I will select darken. I think it was already selected. Just a minute. Oh, I have changed the mode, so let's bring it back to the RGB. Okay, that was just to show you what do I mean by luminance value. Okay, so I will keep stuff to the default one. Okay, so let's select darken, And like I mentioned with the definition, it is all about comparing the pixels of both of these layers, and it will display the ones which are darker after comparison. Okay, so for example, you will notice here in the original image we have a moon here which is quite white, but just under it we have this I don't know what it is, some sort of lamp stand or something, but it is darker, so it has displayed that in the final result. Okay, it is still showing here. So I'm not going to get into the details of each, that will make this video like quite long, so let's not get into that. Moving on to the multiply. So this blending mode multiplies the luminosity of the base color, and you remember what I said about base. It is the, when I say base, it means the bottom layer, and when I say blend, it means the top layer. So base layer color means the color of the pixels of the base layer or the bottom layer, and when I say blend color, it means colors of the pixels of the top layer. Moving back to the definition, the resulting color is always a darker color. White produces no change while the black pixels remain. Okay, so again it is pretty much like the darken because they belong to the same category. So let's show you the multiply. Okay, now you will notice in the darken and the multiply is more stronger as compared to the darker one. Okay, and it's more prominent. So here it is again doing the same stuff like the darken one, but it is a bit more intense as compared to the darken. So next one is color burn. The color burn blending mode gives you darker result than multiply. So the next one is even more stronger than the previous one. Okay, if we had darken, then the multiply one was stronger as compared to darken, then the color burn is even more stronger than these two. By increasing the contrast between the base and the blend color, base and blend, resulting in more highly saturated mid. And by highly saturation means that the intensity of colors will be stronger. So let's see how the color burn looks like and how it's stronger than the previous two. I will open this document again, and this time I will go with color burn. Okay, yeah, it was right. You see, this is multiply and this is color burn. So color burn is more strong, more intense as compared to multiply. And why is it so? Because it is also increasing the value of saturation, and by saturation it means you can call it the intensity of colors. So if some color is, let's say, a pinkish, it will make it red. Just an example. So maybe you will like this effect and maybe you will prefer something else. It all depends on your taste. Moving on to the next one, we have linear burn. Okay, so linear burn decreases the brightness of base color, the bottom one, based on the value of the blend color, the top one. The result is darker than multiply but less saturated than color burn. Okay, so it is something between multiply and color burn. So linear burn is something in between. So let's see how it is. So this is linear burn. Okay, it is pretty much like color burn without saturation. It means that it is not increasing the intensity of colors, so it is more grayed out. So this is linear burn. And then in the end we have darker color. Darker color is pretty much like darken, but there is a difference. Let's see what it is. Moving on to the last blending mode of this category, which is darker color. The darker color blending mode is very similar to darken. This blending mode does not blend pixels, it only compares the base and blend colors, and it keeps the darkest of the two. So that is pretty much like what darkens do. But the difference is that darker color looks at the composite of all the RGB channels, whereas darken looks at each RGB channel individually to come up with a final blend. Okay, so the darker color actually they may appear quite similar to each other, but in technical terms the difference is that the darker color is making a comparison based on the composite RGB values, while the darken, the first one, this one was making making the comparison based on individual RGB channels, and by RGB channels I mean red, green and blue. Okay, so in case of darken we have separate comparisons of each value, that R, G and B, and in case of darker color we use a composite value. Okay, so that's it, no more details than that. Moving on to the next category, we are done with the darker one, the darken blending modes. We are done with these, we are done with the normal ones. Let's move on to lighten blending modes. Okay, the lighten blending modes are pretty much opposite of darken one, because here each result was getting darker, and now in case of this category it is all about lighten. Okay, so I'm sure you could see the difference. When I picked darken it was like that, when I said lighten, a lot of difference, right? So in case of this category, the lighten blending mode, each of these blend modes are going to make things lighter and brighter. So let's see how it goes. So in case of lighten, it is opposite to the darken, and when I say opposite it means in cases of darken we were making the system was making a comparison between these two layers, and it was showing us the pixels which were darker in color. So in both of these layers, wherever there was some comparison, and those pixels which were darker in the top layer, those will get displayed, and if the pixels and the areas where the bottom one was more darker, that section would have been displayed. But in case of lighten, now the sections in both of these layers, the base layer and the blend layer, we will compare, or I mean Photoshop will compare each pixel of both of these layers, and the pixels which are lighter, and those pixels could be in either of these layers, and those pixels will get displayed. Okay, so here we are giving priority to the lighter pixels. Okay, I think that's enough for the explanation. So as with the darken blending mode, lighten looks at the 3 RGB channels separately when blending the pixels. So what do I mean by that is that just like we learned about the difference between darken and darker color, the same difference is between lighten and lighter color. Okay, that lighter color will use a composite value for comparison, and lighten will make a comparison between each different channel of RGB. So that's it. Moving on to the next one, screen. So screen is also quite commonly used, and let's quickly have a look at it. What is it? Screen can produce many different levels of brightening depending on the luminosity values of blend layer, making screen a great blending mode for brightening images. So it is dependent on the luminosity values of the blend layers. Okay, so it will make things brighter based on the values of blend layer. No more details. Let's move on to the color dodge. Now color dodge is just by the look of it, it's a bit more intense, and I think it is associated with the saturation, just like the color burn. We have color dodge. Again, it is doing the lightening effect, but it is also affecting or increasing the saturation. On the other hand, the linear dodge, it is the same like color dodge, but it is not influencing the saturation or intensity of colors. Let me make you go through these definitions in case you are interested in reading these. I will keep the screen like this for a few moments. So the color dodge blending mode gives you a brighter effect than screen, which means it is more brighter as compared to the screen one, by decreasing the contrast between the base and resulting in saturated midtones. Okay, that's the key, saturated, which means more intensity of the colors. And then we have got linear dodge. It is quite similar, but it has stronger results than screen or color dodge, but to reflect blend mode by increasing the brightness. So it's just that it does not deal with saturation, and this one deals with saturation. That's what makes this one more colorful and this one stronger. And by when I say stronger in this category, it means more brighter, more lighter, okay? And when I mentioned stronger in the previous category, which was darken blending modes, there I meant more darker. So that's important to remember that in which category we are working on. Okay, the last one was lighter color. I have already explained that it is pretty much like Lighten. The only technical difference is here we have got composite RGB and here we have separate RGB. Moving on to the next one, the contrast category. Here we have overlay. Let's see what it says about that. So we are done with 3 categories and we are moving towards the contrast blending modes. We have overlay. So overlay is a combination. Now just with the name of this is contrast blending modes. So it will be more about having combinations of different blend modes and blending them together. So it's like having one blend mode within another one. So it is a combination of multiply and screen. We have learned about these two earlier. So it's combination of these two with the base layer always shining through. So it will, I think, prioritize the base layer. Overlay uses the screen blending mode at half strength on colors lighter than 50% gray. Now these are too much technical stuff, that 50% gray and 50% gray transparent, half strength, all these I will keep it highlighted for you if you are interested in all that, but for the sake of making this video shorter, I'm going to skip that. So I will just display you. I have already implemented the overlay, and like I said, it is the combination of multiply effect and screen effect, and both of these, the multiply one was in the darken category and screen was in the lighten category. So it is combination of those two. Moving on to the next one, which is soft light. It is again sort of overlay, just a bit dim. Hard light is really intense as compared to these two. And then we have vivid light, and then we have linear light. All these are pretty much like each other, and this is hard mix. Okay, now hard mix is I will display the definitions later, just showing you the difference. In the contrast, it's pretty much like multiply and screen together. Okay, so it is something in between, and it will, like it said, 50% gray each, and when we say gray, it means it's a combination of black and white. So we are dealing with both darkness and brightness, making decisions based on both. So that's why these are more appealing to the eyes, this category, as compared to the other ones. So overlay is pretty much like multiply, but a little more merged. Then we have got soft light, hard light, and these are giving preference to the soft light was giving preference to the bottom one. Okay, hard light is sort of giving preference to the top layer. And then we have vivid light, linear light, thin light, and hard mix. Now hard mix is visibly different from the others in this category, and because the hard mix is sort of have very fewer colors. Okay, so it has, I think, very limited number of colors which are being used here, not all colors, and we will learn about that. So I will keep the hard mix selected for now, and let's get back to the definitions. So I've got soft light. Soft light is very much like overlay. It applies either a darkening or lightening effect depending on the luminance values, but in a more subtle way. So you can think of soft light as softer version of overlay without the harsh contrast. So this is good. Okay, soft light is as a softer version of overlay. Okay, so this one, the hard light, just by its name, the results with hard light tends to be intense. Okay, and remember, this category is dealing with both. We had a darken category, then we had a lighten category, and this category is dealing with both brightness and darkness. Moving on to the next one, vivid light. You can think of vivid light as an extreme version of overlay and soft light. So it is some sort of extreme version of the first two blend modes of this category, overlay and soft light. So anything darker than 50% gray is darkened, and anything lighter than 50% gray is lightened. Okay, so it's like some sort of criteria. This blend mode has a criteria, a formula for its execution, that if something is darker than, let's say, some particular value of gray, it will make it darker, and if something is lighter than that threshold value, it will make it brighter. Okay, so that's how the vivid light works. Moving on to the next one, linear light. Linear light uses a combination of linear dodge, and that's the one we have covered earlier. Okay, blending on lighter pixels and linear burn on darker pixels. Okay, so what it is doing, it is pretty much like vivid light, because it also has that threshold value. And what it is doing is that anything which is darker to that threshold value, it is implementing the linear dodge effect on that pixel, and those pixels which are this is for the lighter version. Okay, the lighter pixels will get linear dodge, and the ones which are darker than some particular threshold value, they will get linear burn implemented on those. Okay, so typically the resulting colors are quite extreme. So let's see how extreme they are. Linear light. So linear light, yeah, see, linear light is more extreme as compared to the vivid light or even the hard light. Then we have got pin light. Let's learn about that. So the pin light is an extreme blending mode that performs a darken and lighten blending mode simultaneously. It can result in patches or blotches, and it completely removes all midtones. Okay, so it is an extreme blending mode, which means it will go to the extremes in both cases. When it will perform darken, it will go to the extreme, and when it performs lighten, it will go to the extreme, but it will do that simultaneously. Okay, so it can result in patches or blotches, which means that it may appear a bit weird, and yes, it is appearing so. Moving on to the hard mix, and like I said, I am sure it is dealing with fewer colors as compared to the normal ones, and yeah, here the resulting image loses a lot of detail, and the colors can only be black, white, or any of the 6 primary colors, and those colors are red, green, blue, cyan, magenta, or yellow. So it is going to make your blend of both layers into the result will have just these will be composed of just these colors, no more colors. So that's why when I implemented the hard mix, it was appearing like this. It's quite similar to some comic book or some painting effect. Not perfect, just talking about it. Moving on to the next category of blend modes, we have inversion blending modes. Okay, so the first one is difference, and by inversion it means the colors are going to get changed a lot. Okay, and let me show you. So far we were dealing with darken effects, then there were lighten, then there were combination of both, the contrast section, and so far both of those images were quite similar to each other, and we could easily understand that okay, both of the images are getting merged and blended, sometimes intense in an intense way, sometimes in a lighter way, sometimes the priority was given to the darker layer, sometimes the priority was given to the lighter layer. But in this section, these colors were nowhere, right? So this category is going to, the inversion blending modes are going to invert a lot of colors. For example, just in the first one, the difference, the moon is now black, and the tree branches which were originally black are appearing to be white. Okay, so it is inverting a lot of colors of the top layer or the blend layer, and also making those and those inversions are being showered on the bottom layer as well. So this is quite an interesting blending mode, and it may be quite creative in some cases. I think in most cases, again it depends. So the difference blending mode uses the difference of the base and blend pixels at the resulting blend. White inverts the color of the base layer. It is the same result as in I'm not going to read all that, and it's just like I said, it is inverting the layers, sometimes based on the white and the black, sometimes using black or white color. I'm not going to get into details. Moving on to the exclusion. Exclusion is very similar to difference. Okay, blending with white inverts the base color values, while blending with black produces no change. Okay, so it is opposite to the difference. I mean, it is similar to difference because both of them are inversion blending modes, but it is different in a way that it is blending. When it blends with white, it inverts the base color, but when it blends with black, it does not make any change. Okay, and with the gray, it is 50%. So let's see how it goes. The difference between the difference and exclusion. Okay, that's the difference, and obviously this difference is going to be visually different in when in different cases. This is just how it is appearing in my case, in my examples. Moving on to the next one, which is subtract. Subtract blending mode subtracts pixel values from the base layer. So it is going to subtract pixel value from the base layer. This blending mode drastically darkens pixel by subtracting brightness. I'm not going to get into details. Let's see how it goes. So this is subtract. Okay, so it is pretty much like difference, only a bit more, I think, sharper. So if I need this effect, I think I will prefer subtract to difference, and it has really removed some sections by subtracting brightness. Yeah. Moving on to the next one, which is divide. Divide produces the opposite effect as subtract. White has no effect. It's all about, it's just they are quite similar to each other, only the technical differences are like in the previous category, it was all about which if in the contrast category, it was all about moving some value above the threshold value or below the threshold value, and that threshold value was 50% gray. And in this case, it's all about which part is being blended with white and which part is being blended with black, and it is making decisions based on that. So we have divide. Here it is a lot brighter, so yeah, it is opposite to the subtract. Here it was darker, and here it's a lot brighter. So that's how it goes, and that's what it says. Now we are left with the last category, which is component blending modes. Here it's, I think we are going to play with colors now, because we have saturation, color, luminosity, hue. These are also these settings are also available in the adjustment layers, but I will cover that in some other tutorial. So this is hue, saturation, color, luminosity. Okay, this deals with the darkness. This is just color, and if I pick color, it means that it is going to colorize the layer with the top one. Because the top one was blue, it is just sort of colorizing the bottom one. Okay, so it's like coloring the bottom layer based on the colors of the top layer. Then we have saturation. The saturation is sort of increasing the intensities of colors of different sections based on the top layer, and it is making those changes on the bottom one. Okay, you see here if I do that. So it is saturating and desaturating different sections based on the top layer. Moving on to this one, the hue. Hue is pretty much like color. Okay, and let me explain this hue and color to you in a different way, I will keep it normal for now. And here you will see these are the adjustment layers. These are not part of our topic, but here this adjustment layer is hue and saturation. And if I pick one here, and let's implement it on the bottom layer. If I double click on it, here you will see it has hue and saturation and lightness. These are the settings which were being changed in the last category of blend modes. So if I do this, you will notice how if I change the hue, the things our image is being colorized based on my change in the hue category. And this one, for example, I keep it to this end and it is sort of blue, and the saturation is now increasing the intensity of the colors or decreasing the intensity. Okay, when I move to the extreme left of the saturation, it's grayed out, and if I move to the extreme right, now these are too intense colors. So this is what saturation do. And the lightness is obviously pretty obvious. If I will move towards the left, it will increase. If I move towards the right, it will increase the brightness. So that was another way of making those changes. If you want to play with hue and saturation, it will give you more flexibility. So anyway, I will remove this adjustment layer for now, or just disable its preview. So that's all about blend modes in Adobe Photoshop, and using the blend modes you could get something like this. And we did achieve that, I think, with color burn or linear burn, or maybe multiply, or maybe hard light. Anyway, let's go with vivid light. It is quite similar to this one. Yeah, so that is the one I like. You could go with something else based on the images you have. So like that's all for this video tutorial, and like I just showed you earlier, you could achieve stuff like these using this feature of Photoshop. You will have a photograph of this guy with finger, and you will have a different photograph with these icons on it, and then you place both of those layers on top of each other, and then you will make changes in the blend modes, and you will get a result like this, where both of those layers will be merged together or blended together into one. And obviously based on the case you will have, you will pick the blend mode based on that. So I hope this video was helpful to you. Do subscribe to this channel. I know this video got a bit lengthy because of all those details, and if you are interested in reading all this, I'm sure I stopped for every one of these, and for now I will just give you a quick scroll, so that in case if you have missed something, or if I skipped through something in a faster manner, you could read these again. Okay, maybe I'm going too fast again. Anyway, so you can pause at any point to read these definitions, or you could look for these in the internet. You will find one. So thank you. Do subscribe to this channel. Thank you, and have a nice day.